Fired Up. Joining us from Washington, D.C., Congressman Krishnamurthi, who represents the northwestern suburbs in his hometown of Schaumburg. Why is this coronavirus relief bill such a big deal?
It's a huge win for the American people, Mike. There are multiple reasons. Obviously, there's stimulus checks of $1,400 per person for most American families. There's aid for struggling businesses, including new grant programs for restaurants, which is an industry that's been decimated. There's an extension of unemployment insurance, which is going to expire on Sunday for 11 million Americans. There's aid for vaccines and testing and schools reopening. And of course, there's state and local aid, which I helped to spearhead in the Oversight Committee where it originated. But there's also housing assistance.
May I stop you right there, Congressman, because as you know, even some of your fellow Illinois representatives on the Republican side are calling this a bailout of poorly governed states like Illinois and cities that are a financial mess like Chicago.
I respectfully disagree with them. I have Republican mayors, Mike, who are calling me, texting me, emailing me every day in my own district, who basically say that, look, their sales tax revenue declined, the convention revenue declined, restaurant revenue declined, and so they are asking me for this help. In fact, even one mayor said, it's great, but can we do more? Because it's not enough to fill his gap. And so that's what we're confronted with. 1.4 million first responders and others have been laid off across the country, the very people we need to fight this coronavirus. And so I think it's got to stop, and we can't raise taxes or cut services.
So you've said that's the real defund the police movement has been this lack of tax money coming in, and it has led to the layoffs. But let me ask you about the downside here. The Republican critics and other critics of this, even some Democratic economists, say they fear a return of big-time inflation, that this could end up wrecking the economy, this freewheeling spending.
I trust the words of Chairman Jay Powell of the Federal Reserve. He's not a liberal economist by any sorts. He says that the fears of inflation are a little overblown right now because you have so much slack demand. You just don't have a lot of people in the workforce who are gainfully employed overheating this economy. We have 18 million people right now, Mike, who are collecting unemployment as we speak. And so given that fact, given the fact that Chairman Powell has said that when we weigh the risks of doing too much versus doing too little, he's much more concerned about doing too little. This package is absolutely what the doctor ordered for this economy right now.
Well, no, the last time you and I talked, this proposal was called for Illinois state and local governments to get about $13.2 billion. That's a ton of dough, but somehow it actually went up.
That's right. There was a modest adjustment of a formula, and it caused Illinois to actually receive it's going to be receiving $13.7 billion, so $500 million more than we originally anticipated, including, I might add, $7.7 billion for the state of Illinois, and then the balance for all of the the local governments and municipalities throughout the state.
Mayor Lightfoot this week referred to dynamic catalytic investments. That's kind of gobbledygook for what? Specifically, what kinds of things?
I was thinking about the Mike Flannery Bridge, if that would work for you. But no, I think
redo the 103rd Street Bridge and some of those ones over the Dan Ryan. Yeah, you can put my name on any of those.
Right, with your picture. Look, I think that far be it for me to kind of prescribe for Governor Pritzker or Mayor Lightfoot or President Preckwinkle what they're going to do with the money. But suffice it to say that there are a lot of needs, as you know, Mike, a lot of needs. And right now, more than ever, we need to put people to work. We need to obviously heal the economy, but also recover from the virus. And I can see it being used in numerous productive ways in any of those endeavors.
Well, I know that in your hometown of Schaumburg, I assume they've gotten clobbered by the shutdown of the retail and the loss of tax returns, the loss of the sales tax. Well, what are they going to spend the money on? And out in that northwest suburban region, some of these Republican mayors, what are they going to do with all this money?
Honestly, I think part of it is they want to avoid layoffs. This is a big issue where I know that some mayors were thinking about laying off firefighters, police officers, and other first responders. And I respectfully submit that's a very bad idea. In the city of Elgin, just as an example, they had to basically stop the use of a fire engine on certain days of the week at one station because it was too expensive for them given where they were with their tax revenue. And that's just going to basic safety, Mike.
And not a single Republican votes in your House or across in the Senate. Is it fair to accuse Joe Biden of betraying his campaign promises of bipartisanship?
I respectfully disagree, Mike. I think that Joe Biden invited Republicans to come up with their own plan or to suggest modifications to the current one. But unfortunately, they were unable or unwilling to meet that challenge. And I think, at the end of the day, Joe Biden's not a Democratic or a Republican president. He's the American president. He's got to take care of the people.
The biggest infusion of money into Obamacare since it was created, all these other social programs aimed at reducing poverty. Is that really something we should be doing with a coronavirus relief bill?
And the pandemic, unfortunately, was the catalyst. It exposed this situation where people kind of bounce around between middle class and otherwise living in poverty, oftentimes because of issues that they can't control.
So should, for those of modest income who have a child under the age of 6, they're going to get $300 a month. And then up to age 17, they're going to get $250 a month. Should that become permanent? But that's only for 1 year. Many Democrats are saying that should become permanent.
I personally think so, Mike. Almost every industrialized and certainly Western democracies already have this particular type of program in place. And I have to say, this was actually partially a brainchild of Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was one of those who actually called for a greater investment in this particular child tax credit, and it's a refundable child tax credit. The idea, Mike, is very simple, which is, look, the government doesn't necessarily need to invest more in you and me to get more productivity out of us. But if they put a few dollars into the pockets of moms and dads with children, imagine what they can do with that money, not only to help educate and help cultivate their children, but also themselves professionally. I was listening to the story of a mom with children who had to go home to care for her children because of the shutdowns and school closures. And she couldn't afford even to hire a babysitter to take care of her kids so that she could keep her job or look for another one. And this is what this type of child credit can do. It can lift people from poverty into the middle class and get them working, which is what we want them to be doing.
Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, thanks for joining us. We'll be back after a quick break.